Alright, this is Kevin Gordon coming to you now from the 2014 Toyota 4Runner. They're calling again this all new for 2014. This is realistically a restyle, light redesign. Most of the running gear is the same, but here's the interesting thing about the 4Runner. It is the last remaining body-on-frame mid-size SUV. And it's interesting that Toyota, who builds, of course, multiple unibody SUVs, is still happily making the 4Runner. You know, it is sort of a dinosaur in the modern world of trucks, at least of mid-size SUVs, but it is the last one that's really truly capable. I mean, with the death of the Pathfinder, this winds up being your last chance. If you want a really capable off-road, you know, ladder box frame truck that can take really, really hardcore abuse like that and get all four wheels off ground. It is highly capable, and in this off-road model, which is sort of a limited edition when you really get down to it, it's about as capable of an off-roading thing you can get until you get into the really off-road Jeeps and the like. The powertrain of the 4Runner is a carryover. Again, it's the trusty 4-liter Toyota V6. That's also found in the Tacoma. 6-speed automatic. What they've done for 2014, well, it's got a completely new, more aggressive looking front end, which is actually quite nice in my opinion. They've definitely made it look rugged, I can say. In this one, it's got brand new 17-inch wheels that may be some of my favorite 17s I've ever seen on a truck. And they've touched a lot of the interior bits. What things are supposed to be soft touch are soft touch. Really, materials in here are nicer. It's still very trucky and rugged when you get down to it. I mean, a lot of the parts are still hard plastic, but they've done little things like attempted to put stitching in where they're supposed to be French stitching. What's interesting about this being a limited edition, sort of off-roady 4Runner, is, in my opinion, this is the only one they should build. It is the reason why you want a body-on-frame SUV. It's so they can hang real axles off of it, and you can have a really capable off-road truck. Let me tell you, this thing takes an abuse that you definitely couldn't really, in good conscience at least, do with a sort of softer unibody SUV these days. And that'll really make you lose all intelligent thought out of your head is getting all four wheels bouncing down a hill. Toyota, of course, has their crawl control system, which, to be honest with you, in this kind of situation, really isn't all that necessary. If we put it in its different modes, you can shift it into 4 low, and once you're in 4 low, then you get a sequence of choices, whether it's mud, sand, and dirt, loose rock, moguls, or rock, which of course does things like fiddles with the suspension tuning. The more interesting part about all that is the fact that if you shift the old school manual, pull the stick and move it system, we're now in 4 low, which means traction control's off, the rear differential's locked, and you can turn on crawl control. So if we move it a short distance, we'll get all the way into 4-wheel drive low, which is still required to get it locked in. Now we're in rock mode. Now we can turn on crawl control, which, if you haven't experienced it before, fundamentally it takes over absolutely everything. Gas and the brakes. And with this little knob, you control the speed that you're going. Again, in these circumstances, if you turn this thing all the way down to low, it really does just sort of crawl along. And if you're in really hardcore off-road situations, it's a handy feature. If you're in sort of fast single track like we are, it's pointless in all honesty. And there we go. Now we're in super, super low. You can get an idea of how slowly this thing goes when you've got it in four-wheel drive low and the lowest setting of crawl control. If you turn it all the way up to high, you're still moving along at about 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour tops. So the 4Runner comes in 3 models, the base version, the trail version, and the limited version. New for 2014 is all of the sort of designs of the outside. They've done a few interesting things with the bumpers to differentiate them. They've put more clear delineations across them. One thing I will note is in past versions of the 4Runner, I've always sort of had an issue with how short the front seats are. And in this one, it does seem like that is a improved situation. There seems to be a bit more thigh support, maybe a little more length in the inseam of the seat, and as a result, it's a little bit more comfortable than it had been in the past. The one thing they do nice is give you the buttons to still turn off stability control, traction control, and you get a separate button in the off-road version for a locking rear differential. So you really do get something that will just happily spin itself in circles should you have the inclination to do so. And now I'm completely covered in dust as well as all the cameras. So there you go, the 2014 Toyota 4Runner. Updated for the 2014 model year, still really a highly capable off-road truck. If you want an SUV and you really do care about things like going off-road, you know it's going to be a reliable, sort of trusty partner in that endeavor, and as a result, it might really be considered worth shopping for. If you're ever going to drive on just soccer fields, you might be better off with one of the unibody, sort of softer mid-size SUVs, but for ruggedness, looks, sort of lifestyle, that kind of stuff, this thing still is a very interesting choice in the market. With that, Kevin Gordon, Auto Savant, look forward to talking to you guys soon.